Today, we're going to talk about the genius of ATG. I'm gonna make this video as simple as possible to prove why ATG works for so many people and it could work for you as well.
All right, let's go. Today, I want to talk about the genius of Bulletproof Ballers. If you remember that intro, if you remember this background, you're definitely an OG, because then you've probably watched my most viral video on this channel yet, which I filmed like 1.5 years ago. And the reason I'm doing this video today is because after that video, a lot has changed, right? Since the video, lots has changed. We've already helped with Bulletproof Ballers, really, that I want to talk about today. We've helped over 150 people get back to the sport they love. But even back then, when I filmed that video, so many people reached out to me saying that, wow, this is a revelation. I never knew this. This makes so much sense. And it just kept me going. And yeah, I've been in this rabbit hole for the last 1.5 years, trying to figure out even more in detail and bringing out systems for athletes to actually be able to know, first of all, why so many athletes, so many talented ballers don't make it or have to stop playing the sport they love. Even people in their 20s, 30s having to stop the sport they love because of injuries and pain, right? And I've spent every single day learning about this from incredible mentors like Ben Patrick, right, that created the ATG system. Keegan Smith, that was a co-founder of ATG system, still a mentor of me today. They completely changed my life and allowed me to build Bulletproof Ballers together with Liam, an amazing team also behind it, which has allowed us to now really put a system together that we see over and over for footballers, especially for athletes and people in knee pain, ankle issues, tight hips in general, just to be able to regain their prime, regain their childlike abilities, get rid of the pain, get rid of the injuries. And today I really want to share why that is. Because let's run it back. Let's run back to when I was still a child, right? I was, I remember coming back from Senegal. I was there for 1 year, and I remember coming back and playing football again at the local club, and I was freaking rolling, right? I was at my athletic peak, and now thinking back, it was, yeah, pretty reasonable. Like, it makes sense. Like, I was in Senegal for that whole year. I was playing football barefoot in the sand every single day. Right, I developed that natural athleticism that nowadays you see people, they don't go into the weight room, they haven't lifted any weights, but they're still natural freaks. They're fast, they're explosive, all that stuff, without even having a lot of muscle. Right, I was skinny. I was center back then, and literally was known for no one being able to go past me. But then as I got more into like high school, sitting in school every single day, spending more time on schoolwork, less on actually playing football and enjoying there, and getting away from that natural, kind of lifestyle of being barefoot every single day, running around in the sand, and getting into normal shoes again, normal like Western lifestyle, sitting on chairs. I started to experience knee pain as I started hitting puberty, like 13 years old, and from there, right, up until 1.5 years ago, I wasn't able to completely get rid of that knee pain. I went to tons of doctors, right? I tried a bunch of different stuff, but in the end, it always came back to, okay, look, rest, ice, do some of this exercise, get, or like insoles. It didn't really get me somewhere, right? And most athletes nowadays probably already know, thanks to social media, that you can work against injuries, right? You can not just go to a doctor and he tells you, oh, you cannot do anything about that, or this is what you need to do, and then you're silent and you're okay. Nowadays, athletes are getting, they're starting to get it more and more that, look, your body has amazing capabilities to heal itself, amazing capabilities to adapt to the things you put it through, right? To adapt to certain ranges, to certain trainings, to certain stimuli that you put it through, right? And what I didn't understand back then, like, I was just, for example, jumping off my left leg, never with my right one, because my right knee was causing me problems. I never spent time in a deep knee bend with my right knee because it hurt, right? I simply started to avoid that. When I got into some sort of training, right, watching some YouTube videos, what I did was some half squats, and then I mainly focused on upper body training because I thought, lower body, don't really need to work it out because I'm a footballer anyways. So that's really all I did, and I didn't know any better. So let me tell you here today, you're watching this video you will know better after completely watching this video throughout, right? Because I'm going to share with you exactly the step-by-step kind of blueprint we use for our clients that we've now been able to help over 150 people already personally, one-to-one, to get back to the sport they love. And obviously, including myself, including Liam, right? I don't know, Liam's amazing friend of mine. He's had 5 years of chronic knee pain. He snapped his kneecap in half, had ACL, meniscus, tendon damage, all different stuff. I struggled with my knee for over 7 years, right? It kept swelling up. I kept having these issues, ankle sprains, muscle injuries. And what I want to tell you today is that you are not an injury, right? You're not special. You're not, okay, someone that has an ACL tear or someone that is dealing with this specific knee condition. You're someone that hasn't built their body in balance and that hasn't really used everything you can to get your body back to the previous childlike abilities that every single person out there had, right? It's non-negotiable. Every single person at some point, they had these childlike abilities where they could just jump around. They don't worry about what they're doing. They can jump off like double their height, not worry about what they're doing, not getting injured at all. But then as you age, we start experiencing these injuries, and slowly but slowly, athletes start to drop off here, boom, boom, boom. Maybe one person makes it, right? And it's a freak, and it's an athletic freak. But you and me, we're probably both not, not exactly that person, right? That's why we're here, because so many don't make it because of the injuries. So, right, let's get into it now. I really hope you understand the importance of this video. The reason I'm making this is really to have you realize that it's freaking possible. All you're lacking right now might be guidance, might be knowledge. So keep seeking knowledge, keep watching YouTube videos, and then apply that knowledge. That's the most important thing you can do, right? So, first of all, as I said, back in the days, my training looked completely off. What we have to realize now as human beings is that, as everything, just like everything in life, everything is about balance, right? If something's out of balance, it's never really gonna end well. Sooner or later, something's gonna happen. It's the same, exact same with our bodies, right? So when it comes to training, what we need to make sure is that we consider every single area of our body that we can train. That begins from our toes, to our feet, to our ankle, to our lower legs, to our knees, to our upper thighs, hips, core, lower back, upper back, shoulders, neck, everything, your eyes, your head, your brain. Everything needs to be taken into consideration if you're actually serious about your athleticism, serious about being able to enjoy the sport that you love as much as you want, as long as you want, and also perform as good as you can, right? So what we're doing with Bulletproof Ballers is that we have this 3-step approach that we're running people through. When they come in, right, most of the time when you're struggling with an injury right now, whatever problem you're struggling with, most of the time it's some sort of issue that first of all needs to get some extra healing, right? Because it's maybe not healed correctly, you're still in pain, it's still aching, you still feel tightness. So the first thing we really want to do is to rejuvenate that area, right? By bringing tons and tons of blood flow to it instead of actually avoiding that area. Instead of avoiding this weakness, we actually focus specifically on it, bringing in tons of blood flow there. But then we start to work from the ground up, which means we're working on our toes, right? We're working on our feet, on our ankles, right? Towel curls is something you can start doing. Isometric holds on your forefoot, tib and calf raises. Sled, amazing foot exercise because you're pushing through the feet on every single step, whether that's forwards, backwards, even lateral sled, right? That's really the foundation there. And that's something so many athletes skip nowadays. They just simply skip this foot and ankle region there with the toes, right? And jump straight to maybe the lower legs and do some calf raises. But even there, why are we not hitting the tib raises as well? If we're hitting the calf, back of the lower leg, let's hit the front as well. Do some tib raises. Everything is about everything is about balance, right? And you start, I'm getting my voice starting to go away. Like I don't know when I spoke that much consecutively without stopping. So, but we keep going. This is such an important message, and I spent my last 1.5 years actually thinking about this stuff, right? Then when it comes to your thighs, quads, hamstrings, attack both, right? We know that imbalances between quads and hamstrings they leave you at a high risk of getting an ACL tear, for example. And what do we see nowadays, right? Loads of people just squatting, but then if you if you put them onto a Nordic, they drop like a sack of potatoes. So quads relatively strong, hamstrings relatively weak, and then you see tons of ACL tears, right? Neymar is a great example of actually not going to the root cause. And that's the first thing we really do in Bulletproof Ballers, right? Going to the root cause, rejuvenating the area, but then going to the root cause, because your body works as a whole. So we're attacking the ankle, we're attacking the knee, we're attacking the hip. Everything needs to be taken into consideration, right? And I'm sharing videos on this channel talking specifically about exercise you can do for your hip, for your knee. Today, I want to make sure that you understand this principle of being in balance, right? If you work out of balance, that's not how life works, right? And sooner or later, it's gonna hit you. Second thing is deceleration, force absorption. What we see nowadays, and it's really attractive, right? And the sports get more competitive, right? Every single day, sports are getting more competitive. People are getting faster, jumping higher, all that stuff. World records are being broken. So what you want to do is, okay, I need to also jump higher. I need to also run faster. I need to produce more force. But what most people don't understand is that if you haven't built that foundation, which, by the way, your foundation is not just muscles, right? Let's go to that quickly first before we go into force absorption, because it plays into the same thing. The foundation that I'm always talking about is your freaking connective tissues that are connecting every single thing in your body, right? Your bones, without the connective tissues, they would just be floating around. Fascia, connective tissue, tendon, connective tissue, ligaments, connective tissue, all that actually makes up that structure of your building of that body, right? A building, if you think about a building, first of all, you need to build a solid foundation, a straight foundation. If you build a building on a crooked foundation, at some point, the building is going to collapse, right? And if you build a building without actually making sure those metal structures are also being strengthened, and you just keep adding nice features on top of it, a bigger bicep, nice windows, whatever, but that metal structure, the constructors have simply skipped it in the beginning, it's not going to end well, right? At some point, your body's not going to be able to handle everything you put on top of it, everything you're producing. And that's when I'm talking about the deceleration again, right? Because if you look at, for example, a box jump that so many athletes are doing nowadays, box jump is simply jumping up to a box, you're producing force. But now we're going away from life's balance, because normally every time you jump, you also got to land, and you're naturally learning to absorb that force. What happens with a box jump now is that you're jumping up, you land on that box, and you don't have to absorb the force. Well, what's happening there? We're getting more explosive. And now if we go onto the pitch and we jump high because we got so explosive, but we never actually practice landing, well, that's not going to end well, right? It's just like driving a Ferrari without, solid brakes, with the brakes of a bicycle. Maybe you can accelerate first, yeah, because the brakes are not involved. But when it comes to slowing down or turning, navigating all that power, it's not going to end well. I'll tell you that for free. So that's really what I want you to realize here, right? Deceleration, and by the way, high intensity decelerations are performed more frequently than high intensity accelerations during competitive match play, right? In most team sports. So actually making sure that you can decelerate better, more efficiently, is going to give you the edge to maybe slow down quickly, cut quickly, and let the defender just keep running because he can't decelerate as quickly, right? If you see world-class dribblers in football, they are stopping on the spot. They're able to handle the force they're producing, and they go into the other direction. And then if we look at injuries as well, ACL injuries, for example, over half of the non-contact ACL injuries happen when decelerating, right? What's involved there? Obviously, proprioception, as you're putting your foot into the ground, having to stop. Everything needs to contract accordingly. The tendons, the ligaments, the fascia has to make sure they're doing their job properly, so that, for example, as you're cutting, your tibia is not going one way and your femur the other way, and that's where the ACL tear happens. But actually, everything is working together because we have that feedback from the feet. That's the proprioception there. Fascia is highly involved in that. But even ligaments that seem as they are, like they seem like a passive structure, but they actually aren't completely, right? They have receptors that actually make sure, okay, the joint is being stabilized, right, as we move. They have receptors. So it, I don't know, you've probably never heard of this, and that's why I'm sharing this, right? Because you need to realize that you can train all those areas I'm talking about preferentially. You don't have to avoid those areas. You don't have to think, oh, I can just train muscle, or I just need muscle. No, you can preferentially train those areas. And what it will do is not only up your athleticism to a whole different level, because if you look at top athletes, right, man, they have the strength of being able to absorb the forces, especially if we look at the longevity cases, right? If we look at Zlatan, for example, he has amazing mobility, right? He's jumping high, he's able to stretch into certain positions, right? He has loads of strength as well, obviously, and good muscle mass, but without the connective tissue strength. Lionel Messi also, good example, right? For example, if you look at his ankle mobility there, loads of athletes simply don't have that sort of ankle mobility. They're not able to go knees over toes into that much, that much knee over toe. But actually, the more you can go knee over toe, the more protected you're going to be if you're strong there, because you can't really avoid it. If you're training, if you're playing, you're going to have to go knee over toe. You're going to have to get into these positions, right? So it's not a coincidence that Messi's BMOs are literally huge. They look like balloons if you've never seen it, right? And that's really what you need to know here. Like, it's not just about this or about this, it's about everything, even your brain, right? I'll touch on this in another video, but what you need to take out is your body needs to work in balance, first thing. And second thing, don't just always think about getting faster, getting more explosive, producing more force if you can't even handle that force. It's as simple as that. Again, we're getting out of balance there, and we're we're increasing the risk of us getting an injury. We're increasing the risk, especially long term. Right? Imagine you're able to play for 10 more years with minimal injuries, right? You're gonna get better. You don't need to rush anything. I thought, as a kid, I thought, okay, I need to make it pro. I need to go as fast as possible. I can't take time off my sport. Actually, seriously take care of that injury because everyone else is gonna go further than me. But actually, all of those people that rush it now, maybe one, two people make it. Most of them are gonna fall off, injure themselves, whatever. They can't keep it up. But you that actually spend time building that foundation, you can play the long game. And that's what I want you to be able to do, right? So I hope this video makes sense. I hope everything I just told you here, you could take at least one thing out of it. You're welcome to watch this video over and over again. You're welcome to send this video to every single person you know that cares about their health, because I know for a fact most people still don't notice, because if they would, we wouldn't see this epidemic of injuries nowadays, this epidemic of chronic pains, right? We need to get back to those childlike abilities. A child is not just muscular. A child has the connective tissue dominance, right? That's one of our pillars in Bulletproof Ballers. One of the things we're really paying attention to when going through this 3-step system. And I completely forgot this because I just kept rambling on, but the 3-step system I was actually talking about is rejuvenating first, then rebuilding. And in rebuilding is when we're really targeting all those areas, the connective tissues, getting that strong, and then returning back to the sport, nailing every single step down. That's what allowed us to help over 150 people already and inspire thousands and thousands out there, which is amazing. It's a blessing for us, and we're gonna keep going and keep pushing this message out there in the hope of really being able to change the football and athletic world in general, right? So I hope this video helped. If it did, make sure to leave a follow. I'm gonna continue, like, this is just getting started, right? If you haven't realized yet, even though I said, okay, 1.5 years ago I posted this video, went viral, this one's, man, this one's even much more valuable now, and I'm just gonna keep on pushing that out, and hopefully it helps you and every person you love or also want to help with this knowledge I've just given you, right? See you in the next video.